All right, so we're going to look today a little bit about some of these early conflicts with Britain. So yesterday we talked about that Proclamation of 1763 in which King George III, which this handsome young guy right here, basically said they were going to reserve the land west of the Appalachian Mountains for the Native Americans. And that sort of angered a lot of the colonists because they felt like they should be able to settle there as well. So what we're going to look at is just this one page here today and kind of go through this and talk a little bit about something called the Quartering Act. So it says, build on what you know. You know you have to pay for things you buy. Governments have to pay the money they owe too. The British government had to find ways to raise the money it had spent on the French and Indian War. Britain needs money. Main idea. The British government tried to raise money in the colonies to pay for the French and Indian War. Winning the French and Indian War cost Britain a great deal of money. Britain had paid for thousands of soldiers to fight in North America. It also kept soldiers in the Ohio River Valley to protect the land it had won. King George III and the British Parliament decided that American colonists should help pay the costs of the war. Britain planned to raise money by collecting taxes. A tax is money that people pay to their government in return for services. Britain usually taxed goods that colonists imported. These were goods brought from outside the colonies. When colonists bought imported goods such as cloth, some of the money they paid went to the British government. So one of the things I want us to think about today is this, this part here that it kept soldiers in the Ohio River Valley to protect the land it had won. Well, when all of these soldiers were brought over, they needed a place to stay. And this is what's going to bring us, just bear with me here, to what's called the Quartering Act. And so when we look at the Quartering Act, get to the right spot. Pretend like I'm passing papers out right now. All right, so this is just a quick little thing here to think about the Quartering Act. So the Quartering Act of 1765, it says Quartering Act. By order of the British government, all colonists must allow British troops to stay in their homes, use whatever supplies they need, let them stay as long as they need, provide them with food. This law shall come into effect on March 24th, 1765. This law shall remain in effect until March 24th, 1767. So colonists were forced to house and feed British soldiers. So these soldiers, it didn't matter if you wanted them or not. They were going to be allowed to stay in your house, use whatever you had, and you had to let them stay there as long as necessary, and you had to feed them. So this really is going to start to upset some of the colonists. The Quartering Act here, kind of another thing that shows you, it just says this was written June 2nd, 1774. This is going to be an amendment put in our Declaration where it's going to protect us now that soldiers cannot be forced upon our homes. So again, I'm going to give you an assignment that kind of goes along with this just to reinforce what that Quartering Act of entailed. All right. Thanks, guys.